Okay, good evening and welcome back. This is officially titled The Lynn Show. And tonight we are back after our summer hiatus and really happy to be here. We have a special program tonight from Asia to Israel, special for Rosh HaShanah. And the new season will be starting in earnest again October 14th. But we felt that we would kick off the holiday season with someone and something really special. So we had an amazing go of this in the summertime, and so we want to bring it back. And COVID is still with us in a major way, and so we felt that after all the feedback we got, that we want to keep this going on Wednesday nights. And this is not a show that's trying to break any records or go viral. This is the show that's made by us for us meaning our community out there of young, relevant, thinking Jews. In university, post-university, young professionals in New York City. And we're really bringing it, together and deciding the topics that are relevant and meaningful. And we're looking forward to a season to come as we get past the holidays and into the year. Okay, so it'll be on Wednesday nights. And you have any suggestions, of course, and anything you want to see, any people you want to talk to, we're here for you. Okay, this is the community endeavor, and that's what we focus on: people that are in our community with ideas that are relevant to our community, and create a half an hour evening of hopefully informative and interesting people and ideas. Okay, so we have Rosh HaShanah in a couple of days on Friday night, and it's called Rosh HaShanah because it's the head of the year. Rosh means head. It's not New Year. We're not making resolutions of body weight and this and that. We've got our thinking caps on, and we're going to think our way into the new year. And we're going to lay out a blueprint for who we are and what we want to be. And so we got to get this vision in our mind, a blueprint of what we want to be when we grow up, of what next year can become. And we'll talk about that a little bit later at the end as we close. But like I said, tonight's title is From Asia to Israel. And we have a very special guest that I cannot wait to introduce to you. His name is Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen, and he is officially linked to the Asia Torah World Center in Jerusalem. And he woke up bright and early for us to come and visit us. So while we're here, having our nightcap, he's waking up with a cup of tea in the morning over there in Israel. He is a very sought-after educator and speaker focusing on Jewish philosophy and spirituality, meditation, personal development. We're going to hear his story. He spent 6 years in Asia. He definitely earned his stripes in the area of spiritual growth and spiritual knowledge. He is author of a book, Mastering Life, a unique guidebook to Jewish enlightenment. And he happens to be someone that I really love spending time with. And if I can't give him a hug in person because I'm almost 6,000 miles away from him, the least I could do is sit next to him virtually and schmooze for the next 25 minutes about, the most meaningful thing in the world, who you are, what's life about, what are we doing here? And I have a short list of people. If I'm stuck on a desert island who I want to hang out with, he's on that list. And a short list of people I want to have that kind of conversation with. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen, coming to you from bright and early Jerusalem in Israel.
Good evening. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, darling. How are you?
I'm so very well. How are you, Rabbi?
Okay, Boker Tov, Boker Or. I do want people to know that we have we go back a long way. We met in South Africa in an airport in Johannesburg. I was landing. I think you were already there waiting for us in the airport. And we spent a really remarkable time together there, exploring life on our own personal journeys many years ago and coming together. And it's an amazing thing as they've grayed and lengthened, over the years, to continue to work together and to share life together. And you made an impact and an impression on me then. And I hope I did the same in a good way. If it was bad, you'll tell me later. And it's awesome to have watched you grow in your ability to teach and inspire. And so thanks for getting up bright and early and coming on the show.
A pleasure. I was actually going to mention that you're a major part of my journey and you guided me, and you should have much success in guiding your community.
Wow. Okay. That's good. I'll take all those kudos I can get. Any percentage of stock ownership and anything you have, I'm good. I'm a happy camper. So you're in a sense a guru of guru-esque philosophy and thought and ideas. And here we are. We're going to talk tonight. We're going to hear a little bit about your story and your background. Of course, we're going to connect what it is that a deeply spiritual person with great experience in that world, in that endeavor, would be the host or the guest of a story about Rosh HaShanah. Rosh HaShanah is a technical thing. How do we connect these two? That's a goal. But I want people to get to know you as best they can a little bit and realize that you got here with amazing pyrotechnics of life's drama. And so you could share a bit with us, just a bit your journey, how you ended up with Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen in Jerusalem.
Okay. Yes, I'm from England. You could probably hear that. And I grew up in a very Jewishly identified home, but not a religious home. But I played on a Jewish football team, soccer team. And played lots of sport. And eventually I went to Manchester University. I studied philosophy. I think people know that, what people who study philosophy are really like. It's people who don't really know what they want to do with their life. They do philosophy. And I was a DJ, dance music, playing in clubs all night and kind of getting involved in the lifestyle that comes along with that lifestyle. And I realized it wasn't so healthy. I wasn't living a particularly happy and healthy life. And I started asking people a question, very profound question, which was, how are you? How are you? And the top 5 answers were, can't complain, getting by, hanging in there, could be worse, and not too bad. So I realized.
I will say, though, that's because you're from Manchester.
Okay, well, really, in America, it's not that much better. America's like, fine.
No, Californians will just say, it's awesome, man. It's awesome. But pretty much they're on the subtext, the subtitles are the same thing.
I think fine stands for feelings inside, not expressed. I feel I'm awful
tonight. Thank you.
So I realized, hold on, very few people are walking around actually even basically happy and living a meaningful, good, inspiring, passionate life. And I thought, I don't want to end up like that. And even older people in their jobs, and I didn't see anyone living an amazing life. We just had these kind of peak experiences when we went clubbing, or we went to these dance music festivals, and you had these peak experience, and then you just came down into normal life again. And I thought that can't be a healthy way to live. And my grandfather, he died when he was 100 years old in South Africa. And he said to me before he died, he said, you don't want to live an I should have life. So I said to him, what do you mean? And he goes, when you get to 90, 95, you don't have so much to look forward to. So you start looking back at your life and you're thinking to yourself, I should have traveled more. Or I should have not let what other people think about me upset me so much. Or I should have spent more time with my kids and less time at work. Or I should have been to the gym more. I should have told my wife more often how much I love her. You just have a list of things that you're suddenly feeling, hold on, it's over now. And I wish I'd done something about it. So he said to me, you can live your life from now, from this age, that when you get to 90, you're not regretting. You're not thinking I should have done these things. You're thinking, amazing. I actually did. I lived an amazing life. And that really hit me. And I was like, I'm not going to let fear hold me back, because I realized lots of people just do, you go to university or college and then you get a job, and then people are just kind of running blindly into, well, this is what we do. And eventually they're like, why? So I thought I'm going to take a break and work out, what am I living for? What's actually the purpose? And how do I actually be happy and live a meaningful life? So
in a sense, have your midlife crisis young.
Exactly. So it was like a 5th life crisis.
Right.
So
so now you're on your search for the Holy Grail, so to speak. I'm going to say yes to everything. I'm not going to say I should have life, but how do you get to, India, the Far East? How did you go from the raves and the clubs to the spiritual realm? What was that like?
The truth is, it's really Bruce Lee. I have Bruce Lee to thank for this. I was watching lots of martial arts films. And Bruce Lee was actually saying some good things. Bruce Lee said, don't pray for an easy life, pray for the strength to endure a difficult life. And I was like, that's life skills there. Like when I was at school, no one ever said to me, 11-year-old boy, you're going to have disappointment in life. And these are the 3 tools you're going to need to use to face disappointment. I realized my education taught me nothing about life. I had no life tools. Whereas Bruce Lee and the boys, or just martial arts films in general, they were actually saying things that could help me in my life. And I decided on this path of of training and mastering my mind and my body. So I looked at Western culture, and that was clearly not the right thing. I just read an article. LinkedIn says that 84% of people hate their jobs, and there's so much, divorce and depression and stuff. And I thought that there's got to be something wrong with Western culture's values, because people aren't living amazing lives. I actually looked at Judaism on a very, very superficial level, and I thought that doesn't seem like a spiritual path. It's nice. There's some nice rituals. You light candles and you eat matzah, which doesn't taste very nice, but I'll do it.
Yeah, but hallmark as it gets for me also, like, paper thin. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I love matzah now, by the way. Maybe we'll talk about that later. In 6 months, we'll talk about matzah.
6 months.
So it seemed to me that all real wisdom is in the East. They have these masters that can really teach me about life. So as soon as I finished university, in the third year of university, by the way, I stopped all the not healthy habits, and I started meditating and doing martial arts. And I went to all my classes, and my main classes were Eastern philosophy. So I decided I'm going to take 7 years. It seemed like a good amount. I'm going to take 7 years and travel the world and discover what I'm meant to be doing with my life, and then commit myself to living that. So I went to Asia for 6 years. The first place I went was Sri Lanka. I think you got a picture of that, maybe. So I went to Sri Lanka, and I worked in an orphanage, because the main reason is I had a good childhood. My parents were always loving and supportive, and I realized that I have so much. I'm so privileged, therefore I have so much to give to these kids. So these kids, they either didn't have parents or they had alcoholic parents. Lots of people in Indian villages, because there's no work, they're unemployed, so they're alcoholic. So they used to dump their kids in this orphanage, and the kids, lots of them had polio. It's a disease, the muscles in the legs don't grow, and they're crawling on the floor, and they all slept on the floor. You can see they're sleeping on the floor, and they all have blankets, and there's no electricity. All the light in this picture, by the way, is from the flash of the camera. You can see a little kerosene lamp thing there. Didn't give off so much light. And they had 1 meal a day of rice. Wow. And some vegetables that we managed to farm. And I noticed one thing very quickly, which was that these kids were actually much kind of nicer and happier than most of my friends. So they got polio, and they got no parents or alcoholic parents, and they sleep on the floor.
That's the thing. We go to South Africa every year. We go into Kliptown, and we go to the Kliptown Youth Program, right? Which is, there's no plumbing anywhere, and you got kids with bigger smiles on their faces that no plastic surgeon in New York City or Beverly Hills is going to be able to get you, no matter how much money you spend. It's amazing. Yeah.
So the key to this, is obviously gratitude. These kids really appreciated everything. So, we'd give them an extra meal sometimes, which was more rice and potatoes.
And then, and just tell us, how did you end up in Jerusalem from this experience? I mean, you're there, in the orphanage, traveling Far East.
Well, very quickly, I went to Thailand for a while, and I was teaching Buddhism and meditation actually to Buddhist monks. And I went to 10-day silent meditation retreats, but not only was it silence, there was no reading, no writing, no listening to music, nothing, just your mind, working on your mind. And I trained in martial arts. I lived in Nepal, and I climbed in the Himalayas and did meditate, lots of meditation, because I realized that your whole experience of reality is whatever's going on in your mind. So if your mind is positive, if your thoughts are positive, then you're going to have a good life. And if not, you're not. And Japan. And so I lived in many places. And eventually I was going to go to South America to canoe down the Amazon. And I stopped in Israel on the way to meet some friends. And someone said to me, "Why don't you learn Judaism?" I said, because Judaism's cute, but I'm a spiritual master now. I don't, they're so naive, those rabbis. They think there's an angry man in the sky, and he's going to punish you if you don't do stupid little rules. And but I thank God I was open-minded enough to start going to some classes, and I started seeing that Judaism actually has deep, profound wisdom that I saw in the East. I just didn't realize that we had it. So eventually, someone said to me, go to Aish. I had some questions. I always asked people, all my Buddhist masters and my Hindu masters, I said, how do you know this is actually true? I like your system, it's very cool, and I meditate, but how do you know it's true? And no one had a good answer. They all said, because the Buddha said so. And I said, but how do you know the Buddha was right? I was always a good Jew,
A nagging Jew. It's amazing. The propagandists are right, you know.
Great. So no one had a good answer. And eventually I said to the Jews, okay, I actually like your philosophy. Judaism, you don't believe there's an angry man in the sky. You believe there's divine reality that I can connect to, everything that I was learning in the East. And I said, but how do you know you're right? And they said, we have evidence actually that there's no way a human being wrote the Torah. So I was like, yeah, whatever. I did philosophy at university. I'm 29 years old.
Right.
You can't get me with that. So I looked at the evidence, and it was actually quite strong evidence. So I started to fight it because I didn't want to really be a religious Jew yet. So there's a path called the Israel National Trail. It goes from the Lebanese border to Eilat. It's about 700 miles, a walking trail. And I decided to walk the whole length of Israel and raise money for orphans. And I put all the evidence on atheist forums. And I said, you need to help me fight the evidence because I don't want to be a religious Jew. I want to go to South America, canoe down the Amazon. So it took me 40 days to walk the length of Israel. Amazing. Obviously, lots of stories about that. We don't have time for it. But I started noticing that the atheists, these top atheist forums, they had no answers. They just said, oh, it's a coincidence. And I was like, it's not a coincidence. There's actual evidence here. So eventually, after the 40 days, I realized that, hold on, not only is it beautiful and profound and deep, if you understand it below the surface, deeper than a superficial level, but actually we have rational, logical, empirical evidence that it is actually the truth. So I was like, oh, there you go. I found my journey. My journey is over in a way, but it's just starting now. So very slowly, and I believe in a healthy way, I started integrating it into my life.
Yeah, we have similar different tracks. I went through Hollywood, you went through Nepal. Okay, fine, technical details. But the same thing people ask me, my answer is I fought tooth and nail and lost. Right? Like this wasn't
but you win.
This wasn't okay, then you win. So let's move into the meat of or the meeting point, really. The meat, MEAT, and then the meeting point of these worlds and these ideas and what they have to do with Rosh HaShanah. I mean, you said it right there. I hope people who are watching picked up on it. You said what you are in your mind. Not only, of course, is the science of positive psychology. You can see the link below. Maybe you can put in there. We did a 5-part series on positive psychology and how the mind really is determinant of not only your inner feelings of happiness, but actually health, longevity, success in business, relationships. I mean, it's an amazing thing. The science we have, that was our summer series. Okay. But what you are in your mind is really the reality of your existence and your experience and who you are and how you create yourself to be. So that's what is Rosh HaShanah. This is what we start off the year in that space. So that's what we want to talk to. So we want to make this, the next 12, 15 minutes, a practical conversation. Like let me ask you the question straight, Rav Dov Ber. How do you connect the world of thought, meditation, spirituality to a holiday, which is like a new year? You blow a shofar because it's kind of like an old trumpet, like herald in the year, and like dip the apple in the honey. Okay, great. This will be a nice new year, sweet new year. Great. Like, how do we take it like beyond kindergarten and go warp speed into the deepest recesses of who we are?
Wow, that is a good question. So there are two major themes.
Now I'm going to have my tea while you answer that. Thank you.
There are two major themes that we have on Rosh HaShanah, and one of them is actually Chaim, which means life. There's an idea that the book of life and death is open, and it sounds very scary. When you're growing up, how I grew up, it's like, oh, God's going to put me in the book of life and death. But what it means, it's not talking about physical life and death. It's talking about spiritual life and death. It's talking about vitality. Am I getting up in the morning and do I feel that like I'm really alive? As she said to my students the other day, if waking up with a terrible hangover is 0 and bungee jumping is 10 of vitality of life, what level are you walking around on day to day? And they were like, 3 or 4, maybe. When something really good happens, I get up to a 7. And I said, Judaism is really a path in teaching you that we've got to be living at 8, 9, 10. We've got to be living a life of real vitality. And the second part of Rosh Hashanah, major thing, I think this was even called repentance. Repentance. Oh, I'm so bad.
Yeah, so the word really kind of kills any love and vitality in Judaism.
Yeah, beating my chest. I'm so evil and bad. So repentant in Hebrew, the word is tshuva, which really means to return. So if we put these two ideas together, we're actually saying we're returning to life. So what does that mean? Our sages say that really beyond your mind, you're really a soul. You're a neshama. So a soul is fully alive and loving and compassionate and warm, and we're actually already enlightened. According to Judaism, Judaism isn't a path to enlightenment. It's a path to reveal that you're already enlightened. There's just one thing getting in your way, and that is your mind. That's how you're thinking. If you're thinking unenlightenedly, if that's a word, then you're not going to be manifesting your true self in the world. So what repentance is, what tshuva, what returning is not saying I'm so bad, I'm bad, I'm it's actually saying exactly the opposite. It's saying I'm amazing, I'm a soul, I'm perfect, I'm enlightened, I'm awakened, I'm powerful, and I need to start living in line with that. I
So I
need to
gotta say,
start.
that's actually the wrong image. That's tshuva, like I'm on the floor, sackcloth and ash, you know. Okay, there's light in the distance, but you're saying that the light, emanates from within. But I want you to, I have to ask you a hard question though. Okay. If the process is, and this is, you're right, this axiomatic in Jewish philosophy, that really the soul is perfect and the light is total, and it's blocked with 6 degrees of separation, so to speak, right? The 6 days of creation, all physicality, and the you, that's the ego, the id, the super, right? Those things are blocking. It's a process of revelation. My understanding would be that Eastern religions have a very well-oiled machinery system how to also expose and reveal that light. I would love to hear if there are differences in the way we Jews do it and in the way that it's done in the East. That would, I think, be a question that people would like to hear a little bit of an answer to.
That is actually a very good question. The 2 answers. Firstly, people don't know this at all, but Buddhism teaches you don't actually have a soul. So you're actually revealing that there is no self, and your whole problem in your life is you believe there's a self, so you get I am upset, but there's no I. So Judaism says it's exactly the opposite. Exactly the opposite is that myself is pure and amazing, and I've just got to get to that. But in terms of the methods of meditation are basically going to be similar. So meditation and mindfulness really means to bring yourself into the present moment, to bring us, and you're going to have to do that by controlling your mind. So Judaism says it goes beyond that, though. It's not just let's be mindful in the present moment so we feel peaceful. It means we're saying be mindful in the present moment because that's how you're going to manifest your real self. That's how in your thought, we believe that really the soul has 3 garments, 3 ways to express itself: thought, speech, and action. And if we can just align, another translation of the word tshuva, returning, is to align myself. So if I can align my thought and my speech and my action with my soul, then I'm going to actually be living my true spiritual potential. So
okay, that's the how do we connect that to Rosh Hashanah, let's say, versus any day of the week as a Jew? If we could, if we can tap into the calisthenics, the operatives of that ability, of that consciousness, of connecting those two with my soul on a daily basis, that's phenomenal. How does that connect us to a special day coming up, Rosh Hashanah, how we set the course of our year in front of us?
Excellent question. So Judaism actually teaches what are the festivals themselves. Each festival is tapping you into a special energy. So Jewish mindfulness says, don't just get into the present moment, and they're all the same present moments, but there are different present moments. There are different energies in creation. So for example, I think most people know in Pesach, there's the energy of freedom. I could be free from my ego. I could be free from these things. In Hanukkah, there's the energy of light, because I could tap into my inner light. And in Sukkot, there's the energy of joy. So what's the energy of Rosh Hashanah? Our sages teach us that Rosh Hashanah is when the universe was created. This is the time of creation. Big Bang happened then. Whatever your belief system is, creation happened at this time of year. So there's an energy of this time of year called creation, which really we say you can recreate yourself. You can stop living in the past and saying, I'm the one whose parents got divorced. I'm the one who got bullied. That's me. And identifying with a self from the past. Or I'm the one who has ADHD, or I'm the one who, this is who I am. So we often identify with our negative character traits or our negative experiences. And Judaism says, especially at this time of year, you have the chance to recreate yourself and say, that's not who I am. That's stuff I have to deal with. I'm not saying ignore that stuff. You have to go to therapy, you have to have healing, but don't identify with that. Recreate yourself now and say, I'm going to live from today, Rosh HaShanah. This is the beginning of my life. I'm beginning my whole life again. And I'm gonna live from now into who do I want to be? Where do I want to be in the future? And that is going to be, I'm going to be living in line with my soul. So we say, obviously, you have to do that every day of your life. We actually say in prayer every day, Mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh bereshit, which means we do have the opportunity. It means that creation is new every second, every day creation. We're just saying that at this time of year, it's a special time that we can really focus on it, and we have extra kind of divine help in managing to achieve this. And the shofar is saying, the shofar is saying, wake up. It's not just an old trumpet. It's saying, wake up. And if you see the shofar, how it's different to a trumpet, it starts with a small hole and it goes to a big hole. So we have an idea that you can have restricted thinking. It's called Merchen de Katnut, a very restricted way of looking at life, or you can expand how you're being. The shofar's expressing, I'm expanding my whole perspective on my life. So that's how it's helping us tap in, and just the whole day is around that and inspiring us to just make that move. You got to make the move now.
I can say like it's really it's really obvious. You are. I mean, you're an anomaly for a guy from Manchester. Let's face it. But like that there's a language over here that's really your language. But I have to testify that knowing you for so long and having been around you in many different stages of my growth and watching you impact so many others who aren't necessarily hardwired for such spiritual access and grace, but you really are able to help people find the language. And that's your gift. You're an amazing teacher, and you have the information, but the ability to let people actually self-actualize in your presence in a way they wouldn't otherwise. And you have a beautiful gift of really doing that. I want to make it a little practical. Here we are, coronavirus, COVID. There's no question that everyone out there has been prodded to rethink all their norms. The pillars have fallen. Who am I? What am I about? I mean, we're spending all of our time in more Manhattan dealing with our students, not with programs. We're not having programs and social events and barbecues and big nights out and jazz band. We're not doing that. What are we doing? We're talking one-on-one. We're actually saying, okay, let's talk about life. First, we're saying, are you okay? Are you healthy? Do you need money? Do you need a job? Like, let's get the basics down. But like, okay, so we got a very special Rosh HaShanah over here. You can't leave us without giving us some real practical advice, some direction of how can we use the reality of the world out there. I have a green screen, but the backdrop over here of what the world is painting behind us, the wallpaper of insanity, of the emperor has no clothes, like nothing we thought would be permanent is anymore. And how do we use that backdrop on a very special Rosh Hashanah to try and make some strides in what you're describing?
Great question. Very quickly, when COVID started and halfway through, someone said to me, I just can't wait to get back to normal life. And there's someone I know very well. So I said, but your normal life was horrible. You didn't like your job and you didn't have meaningful relationships. Why do you want to get back to normal life? You shouldn't. You shouldn't be the same as you were when COVID finishes. So as you said, this is an opportunity to look within ourselves and say, what do I really value? So I think that if anything on Rosh Hashanah, say, what do I really value? What am I living for? Am I living just to get by and have a nice job and a nice car? That's not what I'm living for. What I'm living for is to reach my potential, to help other people, to improve myself, improve the world. So really to just start questioning how you've been living up to now and know and have confidence in yourself that you can change. And a practical tool for that, I'd just like to encourage all your students is to reach out to you and your team, because I know you're committed to them. And this is your passion. You're passionate about helping other people. So anyone watching this, someone said to me the other day, I had a problem, but I didn't want to reach out because I didn't want to burden you. And I said, it's not a burden. This is what I love doing. I'm committed to you. So I want your students to know that that's you. Another practical thing is I do have a book. If you want to, I have copies in New York and it's on Amazon.
We have copies at More Manhattan and Mastering Life. unique guide
And
to Jewish enlightenment.
so
And you can
it's
find it on Amazon. We can put the link down there. We have a link to Amazon.
nice. So it's very there are lots of stories, amazing stories about snakes and whatever, but really each chapter has practical tools that you can do to reevaluate your life and actually implement meditation and mindfulness to make sure you're really living the life that you want to create for yourself.
The world of mindfulness obviously is all the rage these days. I've had a couple of people ask me, how would you describe the difference between mindfulness and meditation?
Good question. So meditation is like a formal set practice. You say, I'm going to meditate for 10 minutes now, which means I'm going to calm my mind. Mindfulness is a way of life. Mindfulness is all throughout the day. How I wash the dishes, how I speak to my wife, how I raise my children, how I learn is living life in a much more conscious and present way. Whereas meditation is more of a set practice time.
Right. In practiced or ritualized, let's call it, I hate that word also, but Jewish life, you have time set aside for prayer, very meditative opportunities. They're consistent, you set them up, but there are things, there are mindsets all through the day in performing mitzvot, in saying blessings, in being aware of what it is you're doing at any moment. And Judaism is always trying to give those things real stage presence, real nomenclature, real position. And I find that I haven't been to the Far East like that, but I think maybe that we also share those types of differentiated experiences, but all with the same idea of being able to be powerful with the mind and being supremely aware.
I realize that Judaism is a structure of mindfulness. Every mezuzah. Why do you have a mezuzah on the door? Because it's because God said so. No, because it's meant to remind you every time you walk through a doorway, you're walking through a doorway of consciousness. You can raise your consciousness. Why do we say a blessing before we eat? Because we want to have gratitude before we eat. Everything I do throughout the day is a way of tapping back into this idea of soul and spirituality and meaning and why am I doing all this? It's a whole mindfulness system.
So the message here we're going to leave tonight with is Rosh HaShanah is actually a time where the energy of the world and all the forces of the world are in place for one to recreate themselves. The Almighty created mankind on Rosh HaShanah. The process of creation started 5 days earlier. So Rosh HaShanah is the 6th day of creation. And that's the focus. The focus is this free will, autonomous, crazy entity called mankind. And that we can be the masters of our own destiny. And so this is the time where we can recreate that, and we can really have a vision. The Rosh, the vision, the head, use the mind and create a vision of what you can be. I will say that from my teacher when I was in Jerusalem, Rabbi Moshe Shapiro of blessed memory, he basically boiled. I can't believe I would boil someone so deep and something so deep down to a tagline at the end of a show. But the idea in Rosh HaShanah is we're not going to count the report card of your transgressions or your good deeds. That's going to come after Rosh HaShanah, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We have to have an accounting. We have to have an audit. We have to be real, and we have to bang out the things that are getting in the way. We got to be real. But before we get there, what we do on Rosh HaShanah, we don't cry, we don't wail, the books are, like you said, the books are open. So what you said beautifully is how we're going to end this show, is that the vitality, there's a book of life out in front of you. Like we just jump right into that book of life. And we say, listen, God, don't look at the report card right now. The judgment on Rosh HaShanah is, I'm not interested in the tally, in the scorecard. I'm telling you what I really am deep down. I'm telling you what I am, what I want to be, my vision of myself. Judge me on that. We'll deal with the details later. Judge me on how earnest I am, how deep I am, how willing I am to change, how much I want to be good, how much I want to get it right, how much I want to make the most of my life. I'm telling you, this really who I am. My mind of how I see myself and what I can be, that's the real me. The report card could have a bad year. Okay, fine. But if I have the Rosh HaShanah that's strong, and I'm coming to the table and saying, look at the vision I have for me. This is what I want to be. If I had nothing in my way, I would get this and I would be this. God, I want you to see that. Not only is God going to see that, but you're going to believe it also. It's going to change you. And you know something? When you bang out the problems, you're going to be able to do it in a real, that's why it's set up this way. That's how we have to get into this.
I'm ready.
I wish I would love to be sitting next to you. I'd love to be in Jerusalem. And then if I'd be in Jerusalem with you, it would make
next year in Jerusalem.
Yeah. I really, really, really appreciate, Rev Dov Ber, that you woke up bright and early for us. I appreciate that you are giving us your wisdom and sharing with us your story and your light, which is very apparent. I need a green screen and fake lights and everything. You just wake up in Yerushalayim, and it's all there. And I love you. And people should know, by the way, like the first time I met him, he was able to sing nursery rhymes in I don't know how many languages, but there are lots and lots of languages. Everywhere you went, you memorized the nursery rhyme in that language, and you did it for the talent show in South Africa. And I've always been impressed with that. Thank you
Yes.
very much for joining us, Rev Dov Ber. I'm wishing you a Shana Tova, Umatuka, a sweet, good year, a Kasiva v'Chasima Tova. You should be written
Amen.
healed for all good things, you and your family, of health and long life and nachas and joy, all good things.
Amen.
Really
Amen. Same to you.
okay. Thank everyone here for coming and for joining us. We're going to get back to weekly scheduled programming after Sukkot, October 14th, and we really have a great lineup. Check the website, moremanhattan.org, for all of the guests and the topics to come. And if you're looking for something to do on Rosh HaShanah, we at More Manhattan have Rosh HaShanah services, COVID-friendly, 100%. We'll stagger the events because we have a maximum number of people in the center, but it will be warm and inviting and informative. And please go to the website and sign up both on Rosh Hashanah first day, which is Shabbat, Saturday, and Sunday as well. And come hear the shofar, come learn, and come put into practice everything we learned tonight. Thank you for joining. Wishing you a Shana Tova, and looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks.